Well, it was good to get this week started, and yesterday a number of the guys were in, but today, first meeting and getting on the field with them, it was good to get going, and looking forward to having a great week of preparation so we can play our best Saturday.
Paul, with Olive out, obviously you know what Bryson can give you. I'm just curious how Bryson played at Northwestern. If you have a better idea what he can give you more full time now.
Yeah, I don't think that he's Bryce. I've loved it. I've liked and appreciate his approach. And I think he's getting better each week. I think just because now you have the opportunity to start doesn't mean that you necessarily should expect a ton more. You gotta keep getting better, right? And I think that he's one you feel good about in the sense that, and even where he's at now compared to 2 months ago, he knows a little bit more to help himself get better. And but he's not gonna. We don't want him or need him to be something that he's not. We just need him to continue to get better, and he works at it. That's what's fun to be. He's around him. He's got good energy, and like we say all the time, he doesn't have to do it alone. He's got to do his part, and you know what you hate, and I don't mean to always say this, but when you start thinking about it, and you hate having someone get an opportunity that's really good for Bryson at the expense of Olive or any player, but that's the way it's. So it happens a lot in football, and he'll rise up to it. I do feel confident there.
Paul, I think this is the first time in a couple of seasons where your team doesn't necessarily control its own destiny in the West, and I'm just curious if your message changes at all to those guys. Do you change it up because it's sort of an unusual situation for you guys?
Well, my message to the team, it always will vary week to week, but the theme has always been really consistent, and that is to make the most of each opportunity. And at the end of the year, you earn what you get. So we've never talked about if you get these wins at the end of the year, this equals that. Kids know how the system works. And so, therefore, the message doesn't change. We're not worried about that. Never have been. And, there's been situations. You know what? We need to. I think you always should try to put your energy into the things that you control. I think you use the term, control your own destiny. Every day we can. I don't know if we control it, but every day we can impact how you approach that day. And that message has been consistent from day one. And so that hasn't changed. How do you impact the best you can? And I don't know if it's you want to influence it, whatever destiny is, but do not spend any time and energy on things that you can't control.
Paul, how many options do you think you have in your mind what to do at left tackle this week with Cole out, who's been obviously getting a lot of work there? Is it as simple as moving Bruss there, or do you make maybe two moves? Do you know yet?
Right. I mean, there is a credit to the number of different hats that guys have worn in the O-line, and so that you have that, and yet, feel confident with Brusser, and especially, with Cole and John, what they've been doing kind of in tandem, and, it's helped that really Erds and Logan, they've gotten a lot of reps. Maybe not, sometimes it's been kind of a tight end spot, but they've played a lot of football. And yet we do have other guys that have lined up out there. So, we always, when we practice, there's a bit of a shuffling anyways, not so it probably in as much so when something like this does happen, it's not, okay, what are we going to do, wholesale change. But do feel good about the work that, kind of the next group in has been doing, and obviously Brusser's one of those.
Jason, Paul, how important is it to get some more consistency from your special teams moving forward?
I think it's, you could say it's important to get consistency out of every one of us, and it absolutely applies to special teams, right? And yet you look at it, and when we're talking about that, and if you want to reference the last game, it's 3 plays, and if you don't have block in the back, which was away from it, you'd say that was a good return by Aaron. And you could say the same thing with the punt return by Dunner, right? I mean, so consistency is important for special teams as much as it is for offense, as much as it is for defense. Absolutely, it's what you're striving for.
Jeff? Well, I know every injury, including concussions, are different, but do you know at this point when Alex was hurt?
No, and doesn't, no. But why would I take the time? It's where are we at now, and how do you go forward, and where's he at, and it is good for us now. I feel as coaches to have this, you have the protocol, and because it's all about how can we make sure that he's good shape now, any player, and then go forward with it. And so, it doesn't matter for me to try to figure out when. No, you know what I'm saying though, right? It's more like, okay, where are you at now, and how can we help you to go forward, and how can you help yourself, and so haven't tried to go back and even asking him, like I don't know what you gained from it.
Paul, obviously Alex is listed as questionable for this week. Is he still in the protocol?
Yes.
How much does he have to practice this week for him to be able to play on Saturday?
I think for like all of our guys, have to practice. All the guys that are questionable, they need to do it in practice as much for themselves to trust it and feel good. And so, kind of as it goes through it, and that's where again the protocol helps. That you've got steps in it that kind of lead you to the answer, if they're ready or not. And so, he's in it. He's able to do more than before, and then as the week goes on, we'll know more.
Well, if Jack does need to start again this week, how different is it, a second start for a new quarterback than the first, and where do you want to kind of see him improve in the first game?
Yeah, I do think it's every time that you get, you can learn from previous experiences. So, there's a number of things he can get better at, and there's a number of things he can build on, and that's where practice is a good thing, and you can work on it, and yet there is nothing like a game. And so he'll, regardless of when Jack's next snap is, he'll absolutely grow from and learn from the experiences that he had this past weekend.
Is there a reason why Alex wasn't listed as questionable on the Thursday report?
Yeah, I just didn't want to.
Paul, Rutgers is, I think, lost 7 straight now. Maybe this is kind of hard to see on film, but do you feel like do you see a team that's losing a little confidence at all?
No, I mean, when you watch the film, it's you see good football players, and you see good schemes, and so we don't. And why would we even try to watch the film looking for that, right? How can we help our guys get ready for this game? And the opponent is a huge part of that. And what are they doing, and where are their strengths, and make sure you've got answers for them, how to best attack them. And you see a good football team. And I know what their record is, but when you're getting ready to play them and you watch it, you see good football players, and that's what our guys need to see, and how to defend their offense, how to attack their defense, and how to, play them in their special teams.
Well, how do you think T.J. Edwards and Conley have done this year, not only producing statistics,
Right.
but in trying to manage change up front and behind them and youth?
Right. Going into this season, I had a ton of respect and appreciation for TJ and Ryan. And yet the way they've handled this year individually, and the way that they've prepared and worked and played and dealing with all those things, it's multiplied. My amount of respect for them is multiplied. And to see the fun that they're having playing the game, and the way that they're approaching it, you talk about a gift for our players to see that day in and day out. Not just game day. It's how they practice and how they approach meetings, and it's. I don't even know if they know it, but they are giving great example, which is an unbelievable gift to those around them.
Evan Bondoc has gotten some increased playing time over the past couple of games. Can you talk about how has he progressed to earn that playing time, and being a local boy as well? How gratifying is it for you to see him progress into the stage he is right now?
In the question you talked about earned, and he earned it probably from the day he came on and the way he's worked. And what a great, we talk about all the time, but it's fun to see guys do this when they work and knowing they don't know when, but there will be an opportunity. And when that opportunity comes, can I make the most of it? And that's really what you want for all of them. And we just talked about examples with TJ and Ryan. I think Bondi's a great example of that. And, fortunately, he's been around guys. In some ways, it's similar to what Joe Ferguson lived last year. And in some ways, Leo Musso. And you can go down, we all know him, and there's great examples of it. And I think that it doesn't matter where he's from, that means a ton. And the fact that he's local, I think it helps him. But I think that, I don't know if guys even on the team know where he's from. I mean, they do, but they don't care. It's just what he's doing for this group, and all that he did consistently to put himself in position so when opportunity came, take advantage of it. And we're going to continue to need him to keep going and really giving us good play that he's been giving us.
Jason.
Paul, you've chosen to receive when you win the toss this year. What's kind of the thinking for wanting the ball first?
I just thought it'd be good to do.
Paul, I don't know if you can think this far ahead, but what do you hope or think the payoff will be for some of the young guys? I'm thinking Wild Goose, Cone, who had an interception, who have been maybe forced to play more than you would have anticipated at the beginning of the year, whether that payoff comes this year or next.
Yeah, and I think they come in both those, Jeff. I mean, I think that, I think there's immediate payoff, just what we're talking about with any of the guys. When you play, you learn, and it can reinforce good, something you got to do better. It can reinforce that, which can help you in the way you approach practice the following week. And I think we're all products of your previous experiences. So I also think that those then help down the road too. And I think it also helps them, talk to kids that are in that situation. Another thing down the road, like, okay, hey, that's no different than when I first got my first chances. And so I think it's always can be helpful.
What factors do you think have contributed to the reason the pass rush maybe hasn't been as effective as in the past few years?
Well, I think that, it always comes down to a number of things. Any part of football it's the greatest team, in my opinion, greatest team sport. And what can give you a great pass rush is certainly a good pass rusher, all right? You can also get it with coverage. If you have a little bit more time. If the coverage is a little bit better, you have a little bit more time. The offenses you play against, the score of the game. If all of a sudden you have to throw the ball more, there's going to be more opportunities to rush the passer. All those come in. And all we're trying to do is, we don't live in a comparative world. It's what do we have? How do we help them be the best they can be? And that's what we ask our guys. How can you be the best you can be? And as coaches, how can we help you be the best we can be?